The bridge of the Hegemony Dreadnought Inevitable Dominance shudders as another Resistance cruiser explodes into a brilliant supernova of superheated plasma and twisted metal. Admiral Skavorl, his scaled skin reflecting the red battle lights, bares his needle-like teeth in what passes for a smile among the Thuri. "Magnify Sector 7. He orders, watching as a Resistance medical frigate attempts to evacuate wounded from the station's collapsed eastern hub. "Target their engines. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Their medical technology will serve the Hegemony well." Around Proxima Station, once a thriving trade hub at the Andromeda Milky Way border, 93 Hegemony warships methodically dismantle the last organized Resistance in the quadrant. The 17-species alliance that dared to oppose Hegemony expansion has fought valiantly for 3 years, but now their fleet is reduced to 11 damaged vessels, protecting a station where 20,000 civilians huddle in emergency shelters. Lieutenant Marzik approaches the Admiral, mandibles clicking nervously. "Sir, we've intercepted another transmission. They're still broadcasting on that unknown frequency." He hesitates. It matches the pattern from 6 months ago, when they supposedly contacted those humans. Admiral Skavorl dismisses this with a contemptuous flick of his tail. Desperate propaganda. If these humans existed and possessed technology worth our concern, our advanced scouts would have located them. He rises to his full height, towering over his bridge crew. "Commence the final assault. I want Proxima Station's command center intact. I'll personally accept the Resistance leader's surrender." The weapons officer's claws dance across the control interface, recalibrating the Dreadnought's primary ion cannons. Targeting solutions locked. "Admiral, waiting for your command." Skavorl steps to the forward viewport, savoring the moment. Beyond the reinforced transparasteel, the battle unfolds like a choreographed dance of destruction. Hegemony cruisers move with practiced precision, herding the remaining Resistance ships into predetermined kill zones where heavy destroyers wait to deliver the final blow. Proxima Station itself, once a jewel of engineering with its distinctive triple-ring design, now resembles a broken toy. The outermost ring has been sheared away entirely, venting atmosphere and debris. The middle ring, housing the station's commercial and diplomatic sectors, burns sporadically where emergency containment systems fight losing battles against structural collapse. Only the innermost ring, reinforced to serve as the last refuge during the Resistance's desperate final stand, remains largely intact. "Sir," the communications officer interrupts his contemplation, "we're receiving a request for parley from the Resistance Command." "Put it through," Skavorl orders, adjusting his ceremonial collar. This is the moment he's anticipated for months, the culmination of the pacification campaign that will earn him the Emperor's personal commendation. The main view screen flickers, resolving into the image of Commander Thurak, the Centaurian Resistance leader. His silver exoskeleton is scorched and dented, his central eye bloodshot from exhaustion. "Admiral Skavorl," the commander begins, his voice filtered through translation software. "I request safe passage for our civilian transports. We have over 5,000 wounded, including 3,000 children. In exchange, I offer my unconditional surrender and—" Skavorl cuts the transmission with a dismissive gesture. Predictable. They always offer themselves when it's too late to matter. He turns to his first officer. "Prepare boarding craft. I want specialist teams ready to secure their data cores before they can initiate purge protocols. The Intelligence Division will be particularly interested in any information regarding these mysterious humans." The tactical display updates, showing multiple Hegemony boarding craft detaching from their carrier vessels. Green targeting vectors overlay their approach paths to Proxima Station's remaining functional airlocks. "Admiral," the sensor officer calls out, sudden tension in his voice. "I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations in the Resistance communications array. It appears they're attempting to boost their transmission power using methodology I don't recognize." Skavorl narrows his eyes. "Jam all frequencies. If they're trying to call for help, it's far too late. No one is coming to save them. As if in response to his proclamation, the lights on the bridge dim momentarily as the dreadnought systems divert power to its jamming arrays. The Resistance medical frigate, still limping toward the station with its precious cargo of wounded, suddenly finds itself caught in the inevitable Dominance's tractor beam. The hunt concludes, Skavoral announces to his crew, mandibles spread in satisfaction. And now, we collect our trophies. Ambassador Turleth's 3 hearts pounded as the Resistance diplomatic vessel docked with the massive human space station. His species, the Alari, prided themselves on their diplomatic skills, but nothing had prepared him for this mission, finding and convincing an unknown species to join a losing war. They're primitive, muttered Science Officer Duvan, examining the station's exterior. Chemical propellants, metallic hull construction, visible weld points. The hegemony's assessment was accurate. The airlock cycled open, revealing a tall human woman in a crisp blue uniform adorned with gold insignia. Ambassador Turleth, welcome to Earth space. I'm Admiral Elena Vasquez, Terran Defense Force. The diplomatic team was escorted through the station, and their assumptions crumbled with every step. Behind seemingly primitive exteriors were technologies that followed completely different engineering principles than anything in known space. In a secure conference room, the humans displayed holographic star charts of hegemony territory, so detailed that Turleth gasped. You've been watching us. Admiral Vasquez's expression remained neutral. For 73 years. Your war has been educational. The second day of negotiations brought a revelation that left the delegation speechless. In a massive hangar bay beneath the station's public levels, Admiral Vasquez showed them a vessel unlike any they'd seen, a prototype battleship with a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The TBS Retribution, Vasquez explained, the first of our deep space intervention vessels. Turleth's translator struggled with the unfamiliar technical terminology as the Admiral detailed its capabilities. You're saying this single ship could challenge a hegemony battle group? He asked incredulously. Then why haven't you intervened before now? Vasquez led them to a viewing gallery overlooking Earth, a blue-white jewel suspended in darkness. Humanity's history with advanced weaponry is complicated, she said quietly. 200 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves in wars of ideology. Since achieving unity, we've established strict protocols governing military intervention. Duvan, the science officer, studied the Admiral with his compound eyes. Yet you develop such weapons regardless. We observe, Vasquez corrected. We learn. We prepare. But we do not strike first, and we do not intervene in conflicts without clear ethical and legal justification. She turned to face the delegation directly. Your official request for alliance gives us that justification. The conference room fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans hadn't been hiding out of fear. They'd been watching and waiting for the right moment, developing technologies specifically to counter hegemony advantages. When shown the desperate situation at Proxima Station, the Admiral's team consulted in hushed tones before agreeing to an alliance. They provided a quantum communicator of startling sophistication. It will take us time to prepare our battle groups, Vasquez explained. Our FTL systems are different, powerful but requiring precise calculations. When all seems lost, we will come. Young communications specialist Vela Curai, the only member of the delegation with sufficient technical expertise to understand the quantum communicator, spent 3 intensive days training with the human engineers. They showed her methods to boost the signal even with limited power, ways to encode messages that would bypass hegemony detection, and most importantly, how to transmit precise navigational data that the humans would need for their unique FTL approach. What makes your faster-than-light travel different? She asked the chief engineer, a stocky woman named Dr. Hiroko Tanaka. Standard wormhole mechanics create tunnels through existing spacetime, Dr. Tanaka explained, manipulating a holographic model. Our fold space approach temporarily merges 2 distant points in spacetime, allowing near instantaneous transition without traversing the intervening distance. But it requires incredibly precise coordinates and gravitational mapping of the destination zone. On the delegation's final day, Admiral Vasquez presented Ambassador Turlith with a data crystal, complete technical specifications for a shield frequency modulator that will provide some protection against hegemony plasma cannons. It can be manufactured with your existing technology. The gesture spoke volumes. The humans were offering genuine assistance, not empty promises. Now, as Proxima Station burns, Commander Thorak stares at the silent quantum communicator. The humans have abandoned us, he tells his officers, or the hegemony found them first. No one notices young communications officer Vela slip the device into her pocket as they evacuate the command center. Her translucent skin pulses with determination as bioluminescent blood flows through her visible veins. The humans had shown her techniques the others didn't understand. They had prepared her for this moment, and she believed them when they promised. When all seems lost, we will come. Proximity alarm. Hegemony boarding craft approaching docking bay 17. The tactical display in Proxima Station's emergency command center shows the grim reality. Only 5 resistance vessels remain operational, forming a desperate defensive screen as civilian transports shuttle thousands to the station's reinforced core. Commander Thorak, his distinctive Centaurian central eye bloodshot from 3 days without sleep, studies damage reports. A hegemony laser barrage has just breached the outer hull of Residential Sector 9. Move these civilians deeper, he orders, silver exoskeleton gleaming under emergency lighting, and get me a secure channel to the fleet captains. His second-in-command, Major Krell, a hulking Bartonian whose silicon-based biology makes him resistant to the vacuum of space, approaches with a datapad. We've lost contact with the Eastern Quadrant. Engineering reports life support systems are failing in sectors 12 through 17. We have maybe 4 hours before we lose gravitational stability. Thorak's auxiliary arms twitch in frustration. What about the evacuation? 60% of civilians relocated to the core, Krell responds. But the hegemony are targeting our transport shuttles. We've lost 7 in the last hour alone. A junior communications officer interrupts. Commander, incoming transmission from the hegemony flagship. They're demanding to speak with you. Thorak straightens his battle-damaged armor. Put it through. On the main view screen, Admiral Skavoral's reptilian face appears, mandibles spread in what the hegemony considers a diplomatic gesture. Your situation is hopeless, Commander. I offer terms. Your immediate surrender, public execution for resistance leadership, quick and painless, and integration of your civilian population into the hegemony workforce initiative. What he doesn't say, what everyone knows, is that integration means neural implants and generational servitude. Thorak's central eye narrows. And if we refuse, then we will extract your people by force, the Admiral responds, voice dripping with false regret. The station's structural integrity is already compromised. A concentrated barrage on your reactor core would be unfortunate for the civilians you claim to protect. Thorak cuts the transmission and turns to his assembled officers. Prepare for boarding action. All combat personnel to defensive positions. Priority is protecting the civilian core and buying time for the remaining evacuations. As the command staff disperses, Thorak notices something. Where's Communications Officer Kirai? Meanwhile, 3 decks below, Communications Officer Vela Kirai slips through maintenance tunnels, the compact quantum communicator clutched against her chest. Her species, with translucent skin that reveals a network of bioluminescent veins, makes her path visible in the darkened conduits. She moves carefully, avoiding the emergency crews and security teams rushing to fortify the station's remaining defenses. The station's layout flickers through her mind. She needs a location with both power access and an unobstructed view of space. The auxiliary communications array in Observation Dome 6 might work, if it hasn't been destroyed already. A thunderous impact rocks the station, throwing her against a bulkhead. Klaxons wail as the automated emergency system announces, "Hull breach detected. Section 23. Emergency protocols engage. All personnel evacuate immediately." Vela ignores the warning, pushing deeper into the damaged section of the station. As radiation levels rise, her bioluminescent veins pulse with greater intensity, a natural warning mechanism of her species. The path ahead is treacherous. Twisted metal and exposed power conduits block the most direct route. She reaches an auxiliary communications array and connects the device, fingers dancing across unfamiliar human technology. During her 3 weeks on Earth as part of the diplomatic mission's technical team, she'd grown to respect the humans' unorthodox approach to physics. Their chief engineer had shown her how to boost the communicator's signal using locally available power sources. The array's diagnostics indicate severe damage. Most of its transmission capabilities are offline, but the quantum communicator doesn't need traditional subspace channels. It operates on principles the hegemony hasn't yet discovered. Vela connects the power leads exactly as Dr. Tanaka had shown her, watching as the device's crystalline core begins to glow with a soft blue light. She calibrates the spatial coordinates, using the station's remaining stellar positioning system to provide the precise location data the humans had emphasized was crucial. "This is Proxima Station." She whispers into the device, "Final distress call. The hegemony has breached our perimeter. If you can hear this..." She hesitates, then adds the phrase the human admiral had instructed her to use. "The hour is darkest. The promise remains." The station rocks violently. Through the array's external cameras, she watches hegemony boarding craft attached to the hull like metallic parasites. Cutting torches flare as enemy troops begin breaching airlocks. Her communicator remains silent. In a command shuttle approaching the station, Admiral Skavorl reviews the boarding plan. Priority targets are their data cores and any information regarding these humans. "If such a species exists, I want to know everything about them." His tactical officer nods. The first boarding parties have breached the outer ring. Resistance is heavier than expected, but we're advancing sector by sector. The Admiral's personal communicator chimes. "Sir," reports his science officer aboard the flagship, "we're detecting an unusual transmission from the station. It doesn't match any known resistance encoding algorithm." "Jam it," Skavorl orders dismissively. "Their desperate calls for help will go unanswered." Magnify and enhance. The main view screen on the Hegemony flagship struggles to render a clear image of the region of space 2 light minutes from the battle zone. Admiral Skavorl had been in the middle of dictating formal surrender terms when his sensor officer jolted upright, mandibles quivering in alarm. "Admiral, spatial distortion detected, bearing 227 Mark 45, approximately 2 light minutes from our position." The tactical display shifts, showing a pinpoint of nothing, a perfect absence in the fabric of space, expanding rapidly. "Analysis," Skavorl demands, rising from his throne, ceremonial cloak swirling around his armored form. The science officer, a tall, spindly kek with compound eyes, manipulates the sensor controls frantically. "Unknown phenomenon, sir. Energy signature exceeds standard warp metrics by a factor of..." He hesitates, recalibrating. 17. This matches no known species FTL signature. Around the bridge, officers exchange nervous glances. The Hegemony has cataloged the technological capabilities of every spacefaring race in 3 galaxies. An unknown signature suggests either a classified resistance weapon or something entirely unprecedented. A resistance trick, the Admiral's first officer suggests, his dermal plates flushing with aggression pheromones. They've been developing experimental weaponry at their hidden shipyards. Skavorl narrows his eyes, membrane sliding partially across his vision as he focuses on the tactical display. His instincts, honed over 4 decades of military service, prickle with warning. Redirect Battle Group 3 to intercept position. Energy weapons at full charge. Throughout the fleet, 20 Hegemony warships break formation, reorienting toward the growing anomaly. Gun batteries swivel, targeting algorithms calculating firing solutions for a threat they cannot yet define. "Sir," the communications officer interrupts, "we're still detecting that unusual transmission from the station. Our jamming is ineffective." Skavoral hisses in irritation. "Increased jamming power, whatever they're trying to communicate. I want it stopped." On the main viewer, the anomaly continues to grow, not in the characteristic spiral of a wormhole or the blue-shifted radiation of standard FTL emergence, but as a perfect void, a spot where space itself seems to be folding. "Admiral," the science officer's voice rises an octave, multifaceted eyes dilating with alarm. The anomaly's gravitational signature just inverted. "I've never seen anything like this. It's as if something is pushing through from another location in spacetime, but not via any known wormhole physics." The tactical officer interrupts, his tone urgent. Multiple objects emerging from the anomaly. The bridge falls silent, all eyes fixed on the main viewer as it resolves the image. For a moment, nothing is visible except the strange void in space. Then a massive shadow begins to emerge. "Magnify," Skavoral orders, unconsciously taking a step toward the screen. The image clarifies, showing what at first appears to be an asteroid or small moon, until its geometrically perfect angles become clear. The object emerging from the anomaly is a vessel of impossible scale, its midnight black hull absorbing both light and sensor scans. "Size estimate," the Admiral demands. The science officer's voice trembles slightly. "Preliminary data suggests approximately 2.7 times the length of the inevitable dominance." "Sir, mass calculations are inconclusive. Our sensors cannot penetrate its hull structure." "Weapon signatures." "None detected, Admiral," the tactical officer reports with confusion. "No energy buildups, no shield harmonics, no targeting arrays. Nothing we recognize as weapons technology." Inside Proxima Station, Resistance fighters remain unaware of the developing situation as they defend key junctions against hegemony boarding parties. The station's internal communications are in shambles, with most sectors operating independently as they fight to repel invaders. In her hidden communications alcove, Vela's quantum communicator suddenly emits a high-pitched tone unlike anything she's heard before. The device's display, previously dark, illuminates with scrolling alien script, human numerals counting down from 30. She stares at it in bewilderment, then glances at the external camera feed. Nothing visible has changed in the space battle raging outside. Hegemony ships still methodically dismantling what remains of the Resistance fleet. The countdown reaches 0, and the device displays a simple message in human language. "Connection established. Coordinates received. Fold space transition initiating. Prepare for arrival." On the bridge of the inevitable dominance, Skavoral stands resolute. "Maintain positions. Whatever reinforcements they've scrounged up, they're no match for a hegemony battle fleet." Then his view screen fills with the impossible, a void black shape emerging completely from the anomaly, its scale making his flagship look like a mere escort vessel by comparison. The ship's design follows no recognizable aesthetic, angular plates of material intersecting at mathematically precise intervals, creating a form that seems engineered to be fundamentally unsettling to organic minds. Most disturbing of all is the complete absence of visible engines, weapons, or command structures, nothing to indicate how this behemoth moves or fights or decides. "Sir," the tactical officer whispers, "should we open fire?" Skavoral hesitates, something he hasn't done in combat for 20 years. "Hold fire," he orders. "Let's see what we're dealing with." In that moment of hesitation, everything changes. Magnify and enhance. The main view screen on the Hegemony flagship struggles to render a clear image of the object emerging from the spatial anomaly. Unlike conventional wormholes with their characteristic blue-shifted radiation halos, this aperture appears as an absolute void against the starfield, a perfect nothing that defies the sensor's analytical algorithms. Then it becomes fully visible. The vessel that emerges is impossibly massive, at least twice the length of the inevitable dominance, and 4 times its estimated mass. Its whole configuration follows no recognized design philosophy, no visible engine nacelles, no standard weapon emplacements, no recognizable command structure. Instead, it resembles a geometric abstraction, angular plates of midnight black material intersecting at mathematically precise intervals, creating a form that seems to absorb both light and sensor scans rather than reflect them. "Where are their shields?" demands the tactical officer, frantically recalibrating his instruments. I'm reading. Nothing. No energy barrier. No deflection field. The science officer's compound eyes dilate with confusion. Hull composition unknown. Our scans are being absorbed. No, that's not quite right. They're being redirected through dimensional folding we cannot track. Small apertures along the vessel's hull begin to open, not weapon ports, but launch bays. Dozens of smaller craft deploy, their movements precise and coordinated in ways that suggest non-organic control systems. Analysis of smaller vessels. Skavoral demands. Approximately 60 meters in length, sir, responds the science officer. Similar hull composition to the larger vessel. No visible propulsion system, yet they're accelerating at. This can't be right. 47 standard gravities. The bridge crew exchanges nervous glances. Even with inertial dampening technology, organic pilots would be crushed at such acceleration rates. Every communication system across the hegemony fleet, from primary command channels to maintenance crew comlinks, suddenly activates simultaneously with the same transmission. The voice is calm, female, and speaks perfect high hegemony with a precision that even the most educated Cathuri would envy. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Terran Battleship Retribution. We are here to honor our alliance with the free world's resistance. Your forces will disengage from Proxima Station immediately and withdraw to a minimum distance of 1 light hour. Failure to comply within 30 seconds will be interpreted as hostile intent. In the stunned silence that follows, a junior officer whispers what everyone is thinking. It's just one ship. Admiral Skavoral recovers his composure, mandibles clicking with indignation. Open a channel. When connected, he draws himself to his full height. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral First Rank Skavoral of the Galactic Hegemony. You are interfering in a legitimate pacification action. The resistance forces have violated numerous hegemony edicts and... The human voice interrupts, something no one has dared do to a hegemony admiral in decades. Your countdown is at 15 seconds, Admiral Skavoral. We are aware of your service record, including the orbital bombardment of civilian targets on Vega Prime. The diplomatic phase of this encounter is offered merely as courtesy. Skivoral's scales flush with rage. This is absurd. One vessel, no matter how large, cannot hope to challenge 93 warships of the hegemony fleet. I suggest you reconsider your position before. 5 seconds, Admiral Vasquez interrupts again. Her tone remains level, professional, utterly devoid of emotion, which somehow makes it more unsettling. 4, 3, 2. The tactical officer looks to Skavoral, awaiting orders. The bridge falls silent. 1. The small vessels deployed from the Retribution suddenly accelerate, forming a precise, geometric pattern around the hegemony fleet. Still no energy signatures, no weapon systems that the hegemony sensors can identify. 0. Admiral Vasquez concludes. Diplomatic phase concluded. Proceeding with enforcement action. The first officer leans toward Skavoral. Sir, their smaller vessels are positioning themselves in a containment formation. Standard procedure would dictate immediate offensive action. The Admiral hesitates, sensing something fundamentally wrong about the situation. The Resistance has never fielded technology like this. If these humans possess capabilities beyond hegemony understanding, a direct confrontation could prove problematic. But pride wins out. All ships concentrated fire on the human vessel. Primary plasma cannons, full discharge. Deep inside Proxima Station, Vela watches her quantum communicator display change from a countdown to a simple message in human script. Eyes down. Not understanding, she glances at the external feed in time to see dozens of hegemony ships unleash a devastating barrage of superheated plasma against the Terran vessel. The bluish-white energy, hot enough to vaporize moons, streaks across space toward the retribution. Vela gasps, hand covering her mouth. Despite the human's confidence, how could any ship withstand such firepower? Then the impossible happens. The plasma strikes not shields, but the bare hull of the Terran vessel, and simply curves around it, as if drawn along predetermined paths before dissipating harmlessly into space. The communicator chimes again. Hold position. Reinforcements deploying. This is not an evacuation. This is a counterattack. For the first time in 3 years, Vela feels something dangerous ignite in her chest. Hope. 30 seconds have elapsed. Admiral Vasquez's voice maintains the same professional calm. We will now demonstrate our resolve. Admiral Scavoral's tail lashes with fury. All ships, concentrated fire on the human vessel. Primary plasma cannons, full discharge. Across the hegemony fleet, energy weapons power up with a synchronized hum. Targeting systems lock onto the massive Terran vessel, and on the flagship's command, a devastating volley of superheated plasma, capable of vaporizing small moons, streaks across space in converging lines of brilliant blue-white energy. The bridge crew watches expectantly, waiting for the satisfying explosion that has ended so many previous engagements. Instead, the impossible happens. As the plasma bolts reach the Terran ship, they seem to bend, not deflect, as with standard shields, but curve around the vessel's hull as if drawn into predetermined paths before dissipating into harmless radiation. The science officer's instruments register a localized gravity distortion around the ship, as if the humans are somehow manipulating the fabric of space itself to redirect energy. Impossible. The weapons officer exclaims, mandibles clicking in agitation. No known technology can redirect plasma streams of that magnitude without shields. Adjust targeting algorithms. Missile barrage, all tubes. Scavoral commands, voice rising with the first notes of genuine concern. Before the order can be executed, the Terran vessel responds. Small circular ports open along its angular hull. What emerges are not energy beams, but physical objects, sleek cylinders that accelerate to relativistic speeds in milliseconds. The tactical display shows their trajectories with horrifying clarity. 20 precisely targeted projectiles, each selecting a different hegemony vessel. Evasive maneuvers. The Admiral shouts, but it's too late. The first kinetic impactor strikes a hegemony cruiser amidships. Instead of an explosion, the projectile simply passes through the energy shields, which are designed to stop radiation and plasma, not physical objects, and continues through the vessel from bow to stern, leaving a perfect cylindrical hole. Atmosphere vents, but the ship remains largely intact until secondary systems fail catastrophically. Other hegemony vessels suffer different fates. Some are immobilized by precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses that leave them powerless but intact. Others find their internal gravity suddenly increased 100-fold, crushing crew and vital systems alike. They're using technology specifically designed to counter our defenses, the science officer realizes, voice rising in panic. Their weaponry targets the fundamental weaknesses in our shield configurations and hull designs. Aboard the inevitable dominance, alarms blare as systems begin failing in sequence. They're targeting our network protocols. The communications officer realizes too late. Our automated systems are being overridden remotely. The tactical officer's console erupts in sparks as the ship's weapon systems attempt to target, and then fail to lock onto the smaller Terran vessels, now weaving through the hegemony formation at impossible speeds. Sir, they're inside our minimum targeting distance. Weapons cannot achieve lock. Scavoral watches in stunned disbelief as a previously undefeated fleet begins to crumble around him. In 30 years of military service, he has never witnessed technology that so completely negates hegemony advantages. Status report. He demands, gripping his command chair as the flagship shudders under some unseen attack. 37 vessels disabled or destroyed. The tactical officer reports, voice trembling. No confirmation of any successful hits against Terran forces. They appear to be specifically targeting our propulsion and weapons systems while avoiding crew quarters and life support. Inside Proxima Station, hegemony boarding parties suddenly halt their advance, their neural-linked combat systems receiving contradictory commands. Some troops collapse, clutching their helmets in agony as their battlefield coordination implants malfunction. Major Krell reports to Commander Thurak with bewilderment. The hegemony forces are withdrawing. No explanation, no final push. They're just retreating. Thurak's central eye widens as the tactical display updates, showing the impossible. Hegemony ships disabled or fleeing, their formation shattered. What's happening out there? In her hidden maintenance tunnel, Vela's quantum communicator activates with Admiral Vasquez's voice. Proxima Station. This is the TBS Retribution. Hold your positions. This is not an evacuation. This is a counterattack. Reinforcements are deploying to your location. The communicator's display shows a schematic of the station with highlighted docking points. Expect Terran forces at these locations within 15 minutes. They will be recognizable by their black armor and the Terran Defense Force insignia. Do not fire on them. Through a viewport, Vela watches in awe as sleek black shuttles bearing the Terran Defense Force insignia maneuver toward the station's emergency docking ports. Their design is strange, angular, faceted, like crystalline structures rendered in obsidian metal. Aboard the Inevitable Dominance, a junior officer approaches Admiral Skavoril with trembling steps. "Sir, we've lost contact with all boarding parties on Proxima Station." The last reports indicate some form of electronic warfare disabled their neural implants. Skavoril stares at the tactical display, watching as more red icons, representing his vessels, blink out. Not destroyed, but disabled with surgical precision. The Terran strategy becomes clear. They aren't seeking to annihilate the hegemony forces, but to render them combat ineffective while minimizing casualties. It is not mere victory they seek, but a demonstration. A message to both the resistance and the hegemony that will echo across the galaxy. "We could have destroyed you all. Remember that we chose not to." "Sir," the first officer says quietly, "perhaps we should consider a tactical withdrawal." For the first time in his career, Admiral Skavoril finds himself contemplating defeat. He watches as another hegemony destroyer loses power, drifting helplessly as a Terran vessel attaches some unknown device to its hull. "Prepare evacuation protocols," he finally orders, voice hollow. "Priority is command staff and tactical data. Transmit emergency withdrawal coordinates to all operational vessels." As the order goes out, the Admiral stares at the massive black shape of the Retribution on the main viewer. "These humans," he murmurs, "they've been watching us, learning our weaknesses, preparing." His first officer's reply is grim. And now, they've finally revealed themselves. Commander Thurak can scarcely believe his central eye as he watches the tactical display. In 20 minutes of engagement, the single Terran battleship has disabled or destroyed 37 hegemony vessels without suffering apparent damage. The remaining hegemony ships have formed a defensive sphere around the Admiral's flagship, their fearsome weapons noticeably silent. The station's main docking bay doors slide open, admitting a sleek Terran shuttle. When the airlock cycles, 12 humans in form-fitting black combat suits enter. Not a single exposed inch of flesh, their helmets featuring opaque visors that reflect the station's emergency lighting. They move with uncanny precision, as if guided by an internal choreography. Their leader removes her helmet, revealing Admiral Vasquez herself, older than in the diplomatic mission recordings, with steel-gray hair and eyes that suggest she's seen far more combat than her rank would indicate. "Commander Thurak, She greets him with a shallow bow. Humanity honors the courage of the free world's resistance. How is all he can manage, his translator struggling with the overwhelming emotional harmonics in his native language. The Admiral gestures to a nearby conference room. Inside, she activates a holographic display unlike any Thorak has seen, three-dimensional, with perfect resolution and no visible projection source. The galaxy has been pursuing a technological dead end for millennia, she explains, manipulating the display to show the evolution of hegemony weaponry. Energy shields, plasma weaponry, photonic computing, all logical progressions from the same foundational discoveries. The hologram shifts to show human technological development. Humanity took a different path. When we discovered the physics of space-time manipulation, we didn't use it to create energy weapons. We applied it to materials science, gravitational engineering, and quantum computation. Thorak watches in fascination as the display shows the true nature of the Terran Battleship, not a traditional warship, but a carrier vessel with a revolutionary propulsion system. The hologram reveals internal structures unlike any conventional starship design. No massive reactors, but instead thousands of small devices that somehow manipulate gravity itself. No traditional weapons arrays, but matter accelerators that propel simple objects to relativistic speeds, and most remarkably, no command bridge, but a distributed network of decision nodes spread throughout the vessel. What you've witnessed today is the result of 7 decades of observation and preparation. Vasquez continues. Every weapon the hegemony developed, we crafted a specific counter. Every communication protocol, we learned to intercept and manipulate. Every shield frequency, we documented and designed penetration methods. Major Krell enters, his silicon exoskeleton bearing fresh battle scars. The hegemony boarding parties have surrendered, Admiral. Over 3,000 troops. They seem disoriented. Their neural implants have been completely neutralized. A targeted electromagnetic pulse, Vasquez explains. It disrupts their command protocols without causing permanent damage. Thorak's exoskeleton rattles, his species equivalent of a shudder. Why wait until now? Why not intervene sooner, when other worlds fell? Vasquez's expression hardens. Humanity's history with advanced weaponry is complicated. We needed absolute certainty about the hegemony's nature before committing to war. Your alliance's diplomatic mission provided that confirmation and established the legal framework for our intervention. In a secure communications chamber, Vela is reunited with the Admiral, who clasps her hands warmly. Your transmission was perfect. The coordinates you provided allowed for a precision fold space transition directly into the battle zone. I never lost faith, Vela replies, her translucent skin flushing with emotion. But I don't understand how one ship could defeat an entire hegemony fleet. Vasquez smiles slightly. It wasn't just one ship. It was one ship carrying the culmination of humanity's focused preparations for this exact scenario. Aboard the inevitable dominance, Admiral Scavorl receives a private transmission. Admiral Vasquez's face appears on his personal screen. While we speak, 17 additional Terran battleships are emerging from fold space at key locations throughout hegemony territory. Your major shipyards at Tolaris, your primary fleet base at Scholar Prime, your governmental complex on the hegemony throne world, all are currently surrounded by vessels identical to the Retribution. She allows this information to register before continuing. This was never a rescue mission, Admiral Scavorl. This is a coordinated first strike. Scavorl's scales pale as the implications become clear. Impossible. No species could coordinate simultaneous attacks across such vast distances. The fold space technology that allowed us to arrive here functions on principles your scientists haven't yet discovered, Vasquez explains. It permits near-instantaneous transitions between any 2 mapped points in the galaxy, regardless of distance. On his tactical display, urgent reports begin flooding in from across hegemony space. Simultaneous appearances of massive unknown vessels at critical military installations. The pattern becomes horrifyingly clear. The humans aren't just saving Proxima Station. They're systematically neutralizing the hegemony's ability to wage war anywhere in the galaxy. What do you want? Scavorl finally asks, his proud voice now subdued. The immediate cessation of all hostilities against the free world's resistance and the withdrawal of hegemony forces from their territories. Vasquez replies. Following that, representatives of the hegemony will meet with a joint human resistance diplomatic team to negotiate terms for a permanent settlement. And if we refuse? Vasquez's expression remains unchanged. Then what happened here today will be repeated at every hegemony military installation until you no longer possess the capacity to refuse. The inevitable dominance trembles as its engines strain at maximum emergency thrust, leading the retreat of the surviving hegemony vessels. Behind them, Proxima Station stands intact, surrounded by the debris field of 43 destroyed hegemony warships. The remainder of the once mighty fleet, those that haven't surrendered, are in full retreat, abandoning over 3,000 troops still aboard the station. In his private chambers, Admiral Scavorl receives the unthinkable, a direct communication from the hegemony emperor himself, eyes wide with panic rather than their usual imperial contempt. Reports are coming in from across our territory, the emperor hisses, his ceremonial head crest fully extended in a display of extreme agitation. Terran battleships at Tolaris shipyards, at the Cronus relay station, in orbit around the throne world itself. What have you done, Admiral? I've encountered a species we gravely underestimated, Your Eminence. Scavorl replies, military discipline holding even as his career, and likely his life, ends. One that has been preparing for this confrontation, while we believed ourselves unchallenged. The Emperor's expression shifts from panic to cold calculation. Can they be negotiated with? They've already offered terms: cessation of hostilities against the resistance, withdrawal from their territories, and diplomatic talks. And militarily? Scavorl's scales flush with humiliation. They disabled 93 warships in under an hour, Your Eminence, with a single vessel, using technologies we cannot counter or even fully comprehend. The Emperor falls silent, processing this information with the political acumen that has kept him in power for 3 centuries. Then we will negotiate, for now. Aboard the Terran Battleship, now docked with Proxima Station, a remarkable gathering takes place. Representatives from all 17 resistant species stand in awe around a holographic table displaying real-time updates from across the galaxy. Terran operations are unfolding with surgical precision, not wholesale destruction, but targeted strikes at military installations, communication networks, and governmental complexes. Admiral Vasquez moves through the assembled leaders, learning names, offering respect to each species' customs. When she reaches Vela, she stops, a rare smile softening her weathered features. Your transmission made the difference, she tells the young communications officer. It gave us the final navigational markers we needed for the precision jump. Commander Thorak approaches, newly emboldened. You could have contacted us earlier, revealed yourselves, and show our hand before we were ready. Vasquez shakes her head. Humanity has fought its own civil wars, made its own mistakes with advanced weaponry. We learned caution. We needed to be certain, not just of the hegemony's nature, but of our own readiness. She gestures to the holographic display, where a detailed strategic plan unfolds across multiple star systems simultaneously. This plan has been in development for 27 years, she explains, not merely to defeat the hegemony, but to dismantle it in a way that prevents the power vacuum from creating an equally dangerous successor. The holograms shift to show 17 sectors of space where Terran vessels have emerged simultaneously, each one a critical node in the hegemony's power structure. Reports stream in of precision strikes against weapons platforms, command centers, and fleet formations. All targets neutralized without civilian casualties, reports a Terran officer. Estimated hegemony military capability reduced to 27% of pre-engagement levels. Across the galaxy, the impossible news spreads through quantum channels that bypass hegemony sensors. The invincible fleet at Proxima, defeated by a single ship from an unknown species. On hundreds of subjugated worlds, the first sparks of rebellion ignite. In the station's observation dome, Vela stands beside a human tactical officer, watching the Terran Battleship's smaller craft performing reconstruction operations on damaged sections of the station. "I still don't understand," she admits. "If you had this power all along, why remain hidden? Why let so many suffer under hegemony rule?" The human's expression grows solemn. There's an old human saying, "With great power comes great responsibility." We needed to be certain we could win decisively, with minimal loss of life on all sides. A premature intervention might have resulted in a prolonged war with billions of casualties. He turns to face her, his eyes reflecting the starlight. The battle for Proxima Station wasn't just about saving your people. It was about revealing ourselves to the galaxy in exactly the right way, at exactly the right moment. As they speak, reports flood in from across hegemony space. Government officials surrendering, military units standing down, oppressed populations rising up with newfound courage. The Terran Battleship Retribution looms in the viewport, its obsidian hull absorbing the light of nearby stars. Already, engineering teams from the vessel are helping repair the station's critical systems, while medical personnel treat wounded from both sides with equal care. What happens now? Vela asks, as another hegemony cruiser surrenders in the distance. "We rebuild," the officer replies. "We help the resistance establish a stable confederation. We ensure the hegemony transitions to a form of government that respects the rights of all sentient beings." And if they resist, his smile is gentle but confident. They won't. Today they learn something that will shape galactic politics for centuries. Humanity has been watching, learning, and preparing. We don't seek conquest or domination, but we will not tolerate tyranny. The hegemony had spent centuries building their empire through fear and overwhelming force. It had taken humanity less than a day to break that power forever. And it had all turned on a single moment, when a Terran battleship dropped out of warp just as the enemy thought the battle was won.